Alrighty, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Ball Knower Podcast Team Preview Series. I'm your host as always, David Miller, joined today by two very special guests. And as you can probably tell from Cameron's jacket, we're going to be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs today. So I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves, starting with Cameron.
Hey, I'm Cameron. I'm usually Chiefs. I'm all Chiefs, and I have a Twitter account called Chiefs Wire. That's pretty well known around the Chiefs community.
And I'm Pranav. I'm also a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and I have a Twitter page called @Pranav Sriraman. You can go follow me there, and then from there you can find all my socials. But I like talking Chiefs. I like talking anything football, anything basketball, whatever you want to talk about. I'm here.
Awesome. Well, obviously, we're going to be talking a lot of Chiefs today. And I think the best place to start here is to talk about the biggest move this team made over the offseason, and that is obviously trading away wide receiver Tyreek Hill. So just to get us started here, how did you guys feel about it at the time, and how do you feel about it now in hindsight?
Cameron, you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. As it happened, I think it happened like March or whenever it was.
Yeah,
it was
around there.
You can tell it was shortly after, the Devontae Adams deal with Las Vegas, and Tyreek Hill immediately wanted top dollar money, which I'm not saying like he doesn't deserve it, because he does. He's literally, top five receiver in this league, easily, and he's arguably one of the most explosive. Like, I would say he's the most explosive player in the league with his speed. It's like unmatched, and with Mike McDaniel's system down in Miami, I think he's going to do great. And it was tough as a Chiefs fan to see him go, considering what all he's done for the city, winning that Super Bowl in 19. Ever since he got drafted as a rookie, no one knew he was going to be that type of talent. I believe he was a 5th-round pick. But at the end of the day, it was a move that needed to be made, in my opinion, because I just don't think we could, if we paid him that top dollar money, I just don't think we could keep like all the other core players, if you know what I mean. The important pieces. Plus, I don't think Tyreek Hill was going to get like any faster, if you know where I'm coming from. Like, he was getting older. I'm not saying that he's old now, obviously, but like, yeah, I think that's my stance on the Tyreek Hill trade.
So, like, when the trade first happened, I was actually on a college tour, and like I saw it on my like phone or whatever, and like I was just in shock, and I couldn't like pay attention to anything that entire day. And so basically, like, my first initial reaction was like, what went on behind the scenes? Because earlier that weekend we signed Juju, and Kelsey was posting about like how they had like the best wide receiving core in the league or something like that on his Instagram story. I'm like, this is sweet. And then all of a sudden Tyreek gets traded. So, I mean, I didn't really know what to make of it at first, but then, like Cameron said, I kind of dealt with it and like kind of accepted that, he wanted top dollar. We weren't going to give him as much as he wanted. And so the best move was to trade him now when he had a year of cap flexibility that the Dolphins could use. We could get as many assets as possible instead of losing him for nothing the following offseason when the market's even higher possibly. And so, and I think that, with the move of Tyreek Hill, we basically restructured our defense, and that's going to be huge for us this season, the defensive success. We are going to start a lot of rookies, which is going to be interesting to say the least. But I liked some of the moves we made, drafting McDuffie and Karlaftis in the first round, 2 impact players from day one as they project to be. Brian Cook is a hard-hitting safety compared to what we had last year in Tyrann Mathieu. Shout out Tyrann Mathieu for everything he provided, but his tackling was not as good as it could have been last season. And so I think we're definitely going to upgrade in the run-stopping department. And so I think that, if we lose Tyreek Hill, I'm not going to say we get better, but we got the best possible result that we could have gotten when we did lose him.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. Obviously, from a non-Chiefs fan perspective, I think I kind of came to that whole it needed to be done conclusion a lot quicker than you guys did, because I didn't have to deal with the emotional aspect of it, So obviously, like you guys said, you weren't going to be able to pay Tyreek that big money because you had so much more you had to worry about with this team. And at the end of the day, Tyreek's great, but he's a receiver, and you have one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time that can work with, mediocre receivers and still get results. And that's kind of, I'm not going to say this whole receiver core is mediocre. That's not what I mean by that. But like, that's kind of what you did. You replaced Tyreek with guys that are at a lower level, but can still get you production, especially now that they're going to be playing with Mahomes. You got MVS, who can pretty much do what Tyreek did in terms of stretching the field. You got Juju, who's going to be able to play underneath and help you guys out a lot. Then you drafted Sky Moore, who we can get into here in a couple minutes. I think you guys did very well recovering from the situation. I really like the haul you guys got from him. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember it was rather large, and it was fair compensation to say the least. So I thought it was a very necessary move for the Chiefs, and I think they did the best they possibly could with it. But moving on from there, obviously Pranav brought up Tyrann Mathieu. He also left this offseason. So how do you guys feel about that move?
I was pretty. I'm not gonna say happy, but like I like he's an aging safety. Like you have to evaluate what the market is. He's an aging safety. His play declined this past season. You wouldn't want to pay a guy like that top dollar. He wanted to test the free agent market, and we didn't. We weren't gonna pay him. And then eventually, he was one of the last big name free agents signed, and he signed for something similar to what Justin Reed signed for. And I think he's a better player than Justin Reed, but for 3 years younger or something like that, and for the same value, I think that Justin Reed can replicate a lot of the things Tyrann Mathieu can do. And then you build the safety core through the draft. You're getting another year of Juan Thornhill. So I'm not too bummed out about the Tyrann Mathieu move initially and now as I was with the Tyreek Hill move, because I don't think that he made as big of an impact last year on this defense as he did in previous years.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously that Super Bowl year, he was amazing. I feel like he was one of the reasons why we went that far. But that this last year, you're right. He kind of regressed. That he wouldn't get his head into tackles like he used to. But I'm happy. He went to New Orleans. That's where he's from. He went to LSU, hometown. I'm super happy for the guy. I'm still going to cheer him on. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to come back, but like you said that Justin Reed's younger. And I feel like that's what the Chiefs wanted. They wanted to get younger, especially on the defense. And I think Justin Reed provides that. So they also acquired Lonnie Johnson, that cornerback from Houston as well. I feel like he's very underrated as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I think moving on from Tyrann Mathieu is the best thing the Chiefs could have done. I don't think Justin Reed is quite Tyrann Mathieu either right this moment, but I don't think it's maybe as big of a gap as people want to pretend. I think Mathieu is just coasting off name value at this point. I don't think he's the best safety in the world anymore. I think he's outside of the top 10, maybe hovering around 15-ish. Like, I don't think he's that great anymore is my point. But Justin Reed's a good ball player. He's younger, and he's probably going to be able to do more for your defense for longer. And obviously, like Pranav said, you're building through the draft, adding Brian Cook. I think the Chiefs definitely made the right decision letting him go as well. So some of these other go ahead.
And the thing is, with Tyrann Mathieu, if we immediately wanted to bring him back, he would have probably been more expensive. The only reason he had the same contract as Justin Reed was because he wanted to test the market, right, and that didn't go his way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, some of your other free agent losses, some of the key losses, so to speak, you've got Charvarius Ward, Byron Pringle, Mike Hughes. Are any of these things that you think are going to, dramatically impact this team? Or maybe there's a player I left off that you think will make a big impact not being in Kansas City next year?
For me, Charvarius Ward will hurt a little bit. He got paid top dollar for San Francisco. Happy for the guy. Very underrated corner. I would say Melvin Ingram that we got for that trade in Pittsburgh, I feel like we'll miss him a lot because I feel like, for the Chiefs wise, that's mainly the position that we're lacking is pass rush. And, even though Melvin Ingram's up there in age, he still helped a lot with that. Like towards the middle to the end of the season, he still gave up really got a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and that was huge for us. So Mike Hughes, I don't think we'll miss. But I think he got signed by Detroit, I believe.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
I don't even know. I forgot.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like Melvin Ingram probably going to hurt a lot. Pringle went to Chicago, obviously. I think he'll do good there, but I feel like we'll miss him a bit. he was one of our better pieces last year. So
Yeah, I think that, the Chiefs are expecting for McDuffie to be an upgrade over Ward, but he's a rookie, and rookie corners. I mean, we saw with AJ Terrell his rookie year, he was terrible, and then year two he took the step. It's a volatile position, especially for a young corner to come into and adapt right away. So it's not something that you could place too much faith on at this moment. And then as far as the pass rush goes, I think that Karlaftis is going to be really good. And I know, like, the thing is, he's going to be really good, and you're probably going to have him as the Melvin Ingram replacement. But for the amount of money Melvin Ingram signed with the Dolphins, I think you could have paid a bit more to keep him there and then have him opposite of Karlaftis to have a little bit more luxury there. So I think those two are going to hurt the most just because you don't know what you're going to get out of a rookie. And even if you do, you still could have kept the roster at a better level than it is now.
safe to say they have a lot of faith in Frank Clark as well.
Right.
Oh boy, that's an interesting statement right there. It wasn't even something I considered when I was going through this roster. You're right. They do seem to have a lot of faith in Frank Clark.
I was I'm like every time during the offseason, like right after that AFC Championship game, I'm like, offseason plan number one, cut Clark. Like it always started with number one, cut Clark. And I know they did some like massive restructure with this deal, but I still don't know what his cap it exactly is. But I don't know. You're still not going to get elite level production, and you're better off just moving on and finding somebody else at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree when it comes to the bigger pieces that left the team. I honestly forgot about Melvin Ingram, but looking back on it in hindsight, you're right. Especially that Broncos game. He was the one that forced that big fumble on. Was it Melvin Gordon to win the game?
Yeah, it was Melvin. It was Melvin Ingram, and then Bolton recovered it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, but that play is just memorable. One of the biggest plays of your season last year.
Yeah.
So he was definitely an impactful player. Letting him walk is a little bit rough, but I'm a big Karlaftis guy. I think he's going to be incredible. I think he's the type of guy that you can plug and play day one. Maybe I'm a little bit too high on him with that statement, but I do think he'll be fine. Travarius Ward was definitely a big loss for you guys, and like Pranav said, you're kind of banking on McDuffie to be good, and that's kind of iffy, wishy-washy, trying to expect a rookie corner to come in day one and be what would he be, number 2 corner for this team behind L'Jarius Sneed. That is rough. So I definitely agree. And then Byron Pringle, obviously, I think you guys did a fine job replacing him, but I'm going to pull a little bit of my Bears bias into here and say he's an irreplaceable player, and you guys were idiots for letting him go to the other side.
That's fair.
Also, I got to give a shout out. My favorite player of all time, Kyle Long, was on the Chiefs last year, even if nobody wants to remember it. I'm wearing his jersey right now. I just had to say that. I got to bring up Kyle Long whenever I can.
Yeah.
But moving on, I guess we can jump to the draft since we brought up some of their draft picks, talking about their free agent losses. And I think they did very well throughout the draft. So what were your guys' thoughts?
I love the draft. I mean, I personally, when we traded up with New England, I wanted Kyrie Elam instead of Trent McDuffie. But I see the approach they're trying to go for. Like Trent could probably play that Tyrann Mathieu role while offering a bit more in the tackling department. And he was their highest rated corner, so I could see the vision. And then I obviously love the Karlaftis pick because I think he's going to be really good day one. I actually had him higher than Trayvon Walker on my board.
I did too.
I just think that, he's not the longest guy and he doesn't have the greatest bend, but he wins so well with his hand fighting and release off the line. So, I mean, I think he's going to be fantastic from day one. And then in the second round, I didn't know much to make of the Brian Cook pick, but he's a really good tackler when I watched his film after the draft. And then I really like the Sky Moore pick as well. I wanted George Pickens pre-draft, but George Pickens and Sky Moore are kind of different receivers, and they probably wanted a guy who's a bit better as a separator and a bit better horizontally. So I could see the vision there as well. And they also gained an additional pick in doing so. So I really like the draft. Not every pick they made I would have made, but I liked the players that they picked, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I love the McDuffie pick, but like you said, I thought we were going to take Elam too.
Right.
But I think the reason we trade up is because I think Buffalo was going to take McDuffie, and we didn't want them to take him. So that's why we moved up in New England. And I love that, by the way. But Yeah, I love the Karlaftis pick. I think he's going to be really good. I think it's be him and Frank Clark on both, like on opposite sides of each other. Love Sky Moore pick. He was great at Western Michigan, and I think all Chiefs fans wanted George Pickens. I'm with you there.
Right.
We were all Pickens, and I think Steelers got him. But I think Moore is going to be he's going to be really good with Mahomes. I think that's the guy Mahomes wanted at the end of the day. And a very underrated guy that I think will be good and might possibly start is Darius Kennard, offensive tackle, Kentucky. I feel like he's a very underrated guy, and he might start right tackle day one. Who knows? But I really like that pick, and also Isaiah Pacheco from that running back.
That's well.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he ran like a 4.39. He's a very, the guy we have on our roster right now, Rojo. He reminds me of him a lot. So maybe he's the type of player he is. So overall, I really liked our draft.
Speaking of, I have a question for you guys. Speaking of our running back room, what do you make of, obviously Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's career has not panned out the way we all wanted it to, but what do you make, because now he has a new situation regarding something where he's completely inactive for training camp, I heard earlier today. So what do you make of him and what the Chiefs should do with him moving forward?
Cameron, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I can go ahead. I think they still have a lot of faith in Clyde. That's the thing about Andy Reid, in my opinion. He loves his guys, especially the ones he drafts. I know at the beginning of the year last year, he had a lot of fumbling issues, but I think they still have a lot of faith in him. I think he'll still be our starter. Then I think Rojo is going to get a lot of snaps as well, and possibly McKinnon's going to be our third down back like in the playoffs last year. But I think Hilaire, I think he'll have a better season than most people think he will, which I understand. Like you said, he hasn't had a very successful career-wise, but I think he'll do better than people expect him to do. But I can see it going the other way as well if Rojo shines and he eventually starts, but I can see it going either way, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite of Cameron. I don't have a lot of faith in Hilaire at this point. The way I look at it, if you're going to be a running back in the NFL, you either got to be fast or you got to be smart, and I don't think Hilaire is either at this point. You look at some of these top guys that are super quick, can get around defenders, get, all that kind of stuff. Hilaire just isn't that. And then you look at a guy like David Montgomery, who isn't the fastest in the world, but he's very smart. He can read the defense very well, find holes very quickly. Hilaire can't do that either. So you're kind of stuck with this guy who can't really do anything at an elite level. And at the running back position, which has lost so much value at this point, I don't really see the point in trying to make him work. Just play your best running back, who's probably Ronald Jones at this point.
And he's also undersized, so he's not going to physically impose you either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would say just go with Ronald Jones at this point, and then maybe next offseason address running back in the draft or free agency or something, because I just don't think you have anything with Hilaire at this point. I don't know, Pranav, what are your thoughts on him?
So I mean, I'm kind of I'm not a big Clyde fan, to say the least. I just don't like you said, the top end speed isn't there. He's not going to get to the edge as quick as you want him to. And then he doesn't hit the holes very well, and he doesn't see the field very well. The fumbling issues I'm not too worried about, because prior to last year, that wasn't really a thing with him. But overall, I mean, you drafted the guy to be a pass catching running back, which just doesn't have much value in today's league, unfortunately. And so I think everyone knows it was a bad pick at this point. But hopefully, you could find some committee backfield value out of him. Maybe he could be a bit more effective when he splits snaps, because I don't think he's made to be a workhorse, but I still think that he provided some value in this league.
Yeah, maybe if they want to try to use him as a third down back purely as a pass catcher, they could get something out of him. But either way, we're talking about a first round pick that just he might have been worth a fifth. It's rough to see.
It's even worse when you list the running backs taken after him, Taylor, Dobbins.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a rough pick. But listen, if that's the biggest L your organization's taken in the past however many years, then you're doing pretty damn well. At least we're not talking about trading up one spot to take a quarterback that sets your team back 5-6 years, picking them, what was it, like 13, 14 picks before arguably the most talented quarterback of all time. But, it is what it is. Back to the draft, though. You guys gave your thoughts on the prospects. I'll go through mine. I think my favorite pick you guys made was Leo Chenal. He was like my favorite player in the whole class. I love Leo Chenal. He's such a stud. He's like what? 6'2", 250, ran a 4.5. He's an athletic freak. He's not great in coverage, but he's such a good run defender. I mean, he's always looking to hit somebody. And you gotta love a guy like that. Anyone who's like a straight up I don't know, a hitman, I guess is the best way to put it. Just trying to take somebody's head off at all times. You gotta love it. And I think the pass defense thing, you can kind of teach him, as long as he can know where his zone is and kind of stay in it, that's fine. He's never going to be able to keep up with people in man coverage just because he doesn't have that instinct, so to speak. But, if he's like your second, third linebacker, kind of like, I don't know, are the Chiefs running a 3-4 or 4-3 right now? That's something I somehow missed.
They were running a 3-4.
Okay. Well, as your second linebacker then next to Gay or Bolton, I think
we had like a lot of linebacker blitzes as well.
And he's great as a blitzer.
Yeah,
fantastic as a blitzer.
Our coverage, and that's what I think Spags is going to unlock out of him. I have my own thoughts on Spags, but I do think that he can work with blitz packages a lot, and that's what him and Bolton are going to bring. And then Bolton, I think, improved as a coverage linebacker throughout every game throughout the past year. The Tennessee game, especially against the run and against the pass, was just tremendous for him. So I think that, hopefully we could see a similar development curve out of Leo Chenal, who I think who has a higher upside than.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had Chenal as my second linebacker in this class behind Dean. I was obsessed with him. I absolutely love him. You just can't teach that kind of size and that kind of speed and that kind of aggressiveness. If all you got to do is teach him how to play his zone correctly, you're fine. You can get past that. But Karlaftis, like I said, I agree with Pranav. I liked him more than Trayvon Walker. I think he's a more complete player. That power, again, just you can't teach what he brings to the table. The power, the quickness, his hands are very, very, very good. Super powerful. He's got a lot of moves in his tool belt, so to speak. McDuffie, I was a fan of. I actually liked him more than Alam as well. I wasn't a big Kyer Alam guy, so I thought the Chiefs did fantastic.
And you mentioned it before I let Cameron go. You mentioned it he's very technical regarding Karlaftis in comparison to a guy like Trayvon Walker. And I don't understand when a bunch of draft analysts say, "Oh, they'll learn the technical skills," because we see with guys like I don't like to bring him up because I think that he's still pretty underrated nowadays. But Chase Young, that's what they said about him. They looked at the outlier athletic traits, and he's still into year 3. Maybe you could see a bit more out of him, but throughout last year when he played and then his rookie year, he didn't really have much of a pass rushing arsenal. More so, he just relied on his sheer athletic traits. And that works. You can win like that sometimes, but it's not always going to be reliable against the elite tackles. And that's what I really like. That dialogue with Trayvon Walker really just shocked me.
Yeah, because Trayvon Walker, he's coming into the league and basically has to learn how to rush the passer.
Right.
It's like he has no idea what he's doing from a technical standpoint. And I get the upside, like you said, the athletic upside is there. The dude's a freak. But when you have none of the technical ability and you're going to Jacksonville, who we saw take a guy that maybe not to the same extent, but was very similar to him. Can't remember the kid's name for the life of me.
Josh Allen.
Not Josh Allen, the other one.
Clavon Chason.
Yeah, Chason. Yeah. We saw them do that with Chason and completely butchered it. So why do we think Trayvon Walker is going to be any different? It's not like you can just assume that they're going to learn how to rush the passer, learn all this technical stuff overnight. You got to find a kid with at least a little bit of balance, or in Karlaftis' case, you have the best of both worlds. And the fact that he fell to 30 is insane to me. I understand his arms are short, and that's a little bit worrisome. But when you see everything else there, it's clearly not going to be as big of a problem as people want to make it out to be. Cameron, do you want to add anything to that?
About the Karlaftis?
Just in general, the draft in general.
Oh, draft in general. Yeah. I was going to add on to I don't know how Chenal slipped my mind. I don't know how he did, but we drafted him 3rd round, I believe. He said something after he got drafted by us that he loves bringing the pain and anger or whatever.
Physicality.
Yeah, physicality, and like that hyped like me up so much because that's like what we need on defense. Considering we had Anthony Hitchens last year who had a lot of missed tackles, and I feel like our linebacking core is very promising. Yeah, I feel like it's very promising compared to the past few years, and they're young, especially. And being a Mizzou fan myself, I've watched Nick Bolton in college, and I knew he was going to be good in the NFL because he was like you brought up the Tennessee Titans game last year, even though we got blown out. That dude stopped Derrick Henry in 3rd and 1 situations, and it was pretty cool to see. So I'm excited about our defense. Yeah.
Another guy I wanted to bring up, well, not bring up, add on to, Cameron actually brought him up, was Darian Kennard. And I agree. I think he'll probably be starting at right tackle for you guys week 1. I think he's going to be a stud. He's got the frame. He's got the power. He's got the torque. He's another guy, it's kind of ironic that I'm going this route with him, but he needs to learn a little bit of the technical aspect of it. His hand placement's kind of iffy, but I think it's a lot easier for a lineman to learn where to place your hands than an edge rusher to learn everything there is to do in terms of rushing the passer. So I think Kennard is going to end up looking like a steal for you guys, kind of like Trey Smith was last year. And you took him in the 5th round as well, right? Or was he a 6th round pick?
He was a late 5th round pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I genuinely think back-to-back years you found yourself a starting lineman in the 5th round, which is unheard of and absolutely asinine. And whoever is finding these late round gems needs a damn raise because that is insanity.
Yeah.
And then, were you going to say something?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. My bad. And then I wanted to add on to Sky Moore, too. I thought he was a fantastic pick. I know you guys said you wanted George Pickens, and I get that because as a Bears fan, I wanted Pickens as well. But seeing Pickens fall to 50-something or whatever his pick was, I figure there's probably a lot more to him than what we know in terms of these red flags that everyone's talking about with his character and things of that nature. And I think it's very fitting that he went to Pittsburgh after the whole thing they dealt with Antonio Brown. But I think Sky Moore was probably a safer pick in terms of that. And he's also just a guy that's a good route runner, sure hands, really, really tough over the middle. He's not going to drop a ball because he's afraid to get hit. And he's a really good run blocker as well. So I think Sky Moore was a fantastic pick for you guys. And just overall, I really like what the Chiefs did this year in the draft. And I think they're one of the draft classes that I'm not going to say is underrated, but probably deserves a bit more praise than what it's getting currently.
I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, moving on from that, I guess we can just kind of run through the roster at this point. We've talked about the big moves they've made, and I guess we left off a couple free agent signings, but they'll come up when we're talking about the team. So first off, Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in football, in my opinion. I'm sure you guys agree with that. How do you feel about the people that put him at 2 or even 3 behind Josh Allen?
Cameron, you want to take it away?
I can take it away if you want me to. That AFC divisional game, whoever says Josh Allen outplayed Mahomes tells me that they obviously didn't see the stats or they didn't, you know what I'm trying to say. I think they both threw for 4 touchdowns, but Mahomes had more yards than Allen did. And, they're saying Allen's better than Mahomes because he has this physicality. And I love Josh Allen. I really do. I think he's top 3 quarterback for me. But the thing about Josh Allen, he can be very inconsistent. And that showed against the Jaguars and Falcons game last year. I'm not trying to be a cocky fan at all, but I don't think Mahomes would lose to the Jaguars the way Josh Allen did at all. Josh Allen dominated Josh Allen that game. And Jacksonville, Josh Allen. But yeah, I just think Mahomes is undoubtedly the number 1. Aaron Rodgers is a very close, back-to-back MVPs. I know that's probably hard to see for you, Miller football. But, I wish I got to see that showdown last year between them two, but that didn't happen. But Mahomes is just even though he has the weapons, I think this is the year he'll show everybody that it wasn't just Tyreek Hill carrying him. He's going to show that, with, I would say average receivers now that they brought in and that they did have with Cole. I I think he'll show like the world that, he's the number one, you know. He literally made it to the conference championship 4 times in a row at home in his first 4 years starting. Like, that's very rare, and like no other quarterback has done that. And he's obviously the best quarterback I've ever seen play. No bias. Uh, but like, where I'm coming from. He's such a raw talent, and it's amazing to see him play weekly. So
Yeah. So as far as I go, I mean, I'm not gonna fight you if you have Aaron Rodgers at 1. I'm really not. I have Mahomes at 1, but I'm not gonna like get at your head if you have Rodgers at 1. To me, I think that after the bye week last year, when Mahomes really adjusted to the 2 high coverages that he frequently saw, I think that took him to another level. Like, he's not gonna have the same statistical production as he did in 2018. But I think that he's developed as a better player, as a smarter player since then, and he's having the ability to handle tougher coverages, and I think that has taken him to a new height. And then regarding Josh Allen, I mean, everyone likes to point out Mahomes' down year where he finished second in EPA per play, but Josh Allen had a bigger down year than Mahomes did, and no one talked about it. And like, he was worse than Rodgers in the regular season. He was worse than Herbert in the regular season. He was worse than Brady in the regular season. But it didn't get talked about a lot. And that just shows like the standards both of them are held to. Josh Allen's fantastic. But I mean, Holmes was more consistent in the regular season in what many consider to be the worst year of his career. It is the worst year of his career. And then in the playoffs as well, Josh Allen was fantastic, but he also played worse defenses than Mahomes did in comparison. And even in that game, like Cameron mentioned, Mahomes had more passing yards than Josh Allen. He actually had more rushing yards than Josh Allen, which was to my surprise at the end of the game. And he had like the same passing EPA as Josh Allen. Both of them played perfectly. Like, you couldn't have asked for anything better. But like, the people who put Josh Allen over Mahomes after that 1 or 2 game sample size in the playoffs, I think that's when you really get to recency bias, because everything that we have up to this point shows that Patrick is better. So.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think putting Rodgers above him isn't necessarily a crime or anything. I get the argument. I personally have Mahomes above him. I think Mahomes is the most talented quarterback to ever play the sport. I don't think it's crazy to say that, even though he's been in the league, 5 years now? The things this guy can do is insane. And we saw that on full display in the Super Bowl. You guys unfortunately got blown out in. I mean, he was doing everything in his power to not lose. And then this past year in the playoffs, the 13-second drive to take you guys to overtime, absolutely insane. And even though, or even going off of him being statistically better than Josh Allen in that game, if you watch the game, if you go back and look at the film, Mahomes blew him out of the water. I mean, he looked so much better in that game. I think it's absolutely crazy to even put the two of them in the same conversation right now. I understand that Josh Allen's an incredible football player, and I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but his inconsistency is an issue compared to Mahomes. And if we're talking about Mahomes' worst season being better than most of Josh Allen's career, then it's really not a conversation we should be having at this point. I think it's absolutely insane. And I think it just boils down to the expectations being absolutely ridiculous for Mahomes. Like, the guy isn't perfect. He's going to be slandered, for lack of a better word. It's kind of unfair to a certain extent, but it's Mahomes, and he always manages to meet it anyways, apart from this year.
Yeah.
But
Also,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, his first year start.
Oh no,
I think he cut out there.
He did.
For 5,000
Cameron,
yards.
can you start over that thought? You cut out.
You
You cut out. Can you start over?
Yeah, I was saying in his first year starting in 18, that dude threw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. And for his first year starting, you don't see that from a quarterback. It's pretty rare, and that's when I think all us fans knew that dude's special. So
yeah, absolutely. Now, moving on, we've already talked about these running backs. Obviously, I think we can all agree that Ronald Jones is probably the best guy in the backfield at this point. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we're trying to see something out of him. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I'm not too confident in it. And then, unless you guys want to give us some insight on Derek Gore or Jerick McKinnon, I think we're safe to move on from there.
I mean, I like McKinnon. I liked what he brought out of the backfield last year, and then as a pass catcher. And then I think that Ronald Jones, I agree, is our best running back at this point. I was a big Derek Gore RB1. Like, I was probably the only Derek Gore RB1 truther on the Chiefs Twitter last year. But I mean, that guy just doesn't get the volume to do that, sadly. So that dream will never be fulfilled. But he was pretty efficient when he got the ball. So I mean, I think he's a nice back to have as like a third back in your backfield. But I'm not too concerned about the backfield at this point. It is what it is.
Yeah. Cameron, you want to add anything to that?
Running back is obviously not one of our strengths, position wise. That's safe to say. But like you said, Derek Gore had his flashes, but he doesn't get the volume. McKinnon was mainly our main back in the playoffs last year, and that dude does not avoid contact whatsoever. He's going to get you the first down if he's close enough to it. He's going to put his head down. But like I said, Rojo, I feel like is a great addition. I feel like he'll fit in pretty nicely. So
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think McKinnon's a nice third down back, but I think Ronald Jones is probably going to be your lead back for this year. So moving on from there, we've got this wide receiver core, obviously lacking Tyreek Hill, but we've talked about they brought in Juju, they brought in MVS, they brought in Sky Moore. So are you guys confident in this group, or are you worried it's going to be a disaster?
I don't think it's going to be a disaster. I just think the group is a whole lot of mid, as some would say. I mean, it is what it is. I think they're just average, like Cameron attested to earlier. And I think the average with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback is good enough to lead an efficient offense. And as long as the offense remains like top 5-ish, top 10-ish in efficiency, and the defense can take a step forward from the historic lows that they were at some points last year, then yeah, I think that we'd be perfectly fine just running with this receiving core. There's no stars on it, but we still have Kelsey. I think everyone forgets about Travis Kelsey's existence, like he still exists, and then you surround him with good players. I think that we're fine. We're fine.
Cameron,
I if you have Mahomes, you're going to be fine with whatever receiving core you have. But with Juju Smith-Schuster, obviously he had a down year last year with all his injuries and a noodle arm quarterback. I think he's going to have like a very sleeper year, if you know what I'm talking about. Like, I feel like he's going to have I think he'll have a very good season, if you ask me. He's under the radar, that's for sure. And I think, like you said, MVS, I feel like he's going to be one of our deep threats. I feel like him and Mahomes will get comfortable very quickly. And the guy that I want to have a big year is Mecole Hardman, because I think that dude deserves it after being in Tyreek's shadow all these years. And I think he'll prove it this year that, he can go over the top of the defenses with that speed. And I think he'll do very well as well. And also, you mentioned Kelsey, and who can't forget about him, and I feel like he'll obviously do good again this season like he's done, even with Alex Smith. So
I'm not completely out on Mecole, but I kind of have to disagree. I'm kind of leaning towards being out on him. I'm just like, he doesn't have terrible hands and he's blazing fast, but the ball tracking just hasn't improved on a year in, year out basis. And like, there's so many like gorgeous dimes you see Patrick throw his way that he just doesn't bring down because he doesn't know how to track it really well in the air. And I thought that he kind of has the opposite problem with Tyreek, where Tyreek is great at tracking the ball, but the hands are inconsistent. But you would rather have good ball tracking than just bad ball tracking in general. So I mean, hopefully he could take a step there, but I'm not too confident in it because we've seen it for 3 years and there's nothing much to go off of.
Yeah, I got to agree with you guys. I don't think it's going to be a bad core either. Obviously, it can't be a bad core with Mahomes throwing in the ball. It doesn't matter who you have out there. If Mahomes is throwing in the ball, they're going to do something. But at the end of the day, it is a whole lot of mid, for lack of better words. But I think it's a well-constructed group of mid in the sense that you have guys that can do a little bit of everything. Like you have MVS, who's going to stretch the field very well. We've seen that in Green Bay. Juju, he can play out of the slot and kind of be your short to intermediate threat. Sky Moore can do a little bit of that. Like I mentioned, he's very good over the middle. He's never going to shy away from contact. Hardman's kind of, iffy. I agree with Pranav. It's kind of more or less just figuring out that ball tracking. And if you can't do it, it is what it is at this point. But he's got solid hands and he's quick. So who knows? Maybe I'm sure they'll be able to find a role for him. And then obviously Travis Kelce stands out above the rest as the best tight end in football. And then also someone you guys didn't mention, and I don't even know if he's going to play this year, but he's here, so we have to acknowledge him, as Josh Gordon, who, maybe as the fifth, sixth option on this team, if he sees the field, could do literally anything. It's always in the cards, maybe.
I mean, when the signing was made, it was always low risk, high reward, and it's not been high reward, but it's not like he's risking anything. I mean, we're not going to get Browns Josh Gordon. That's just unrealistic. But if we can even get like Seahawks Josh Gordon for a couple weeks, that'd be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on from that, you've got this offensive line, and I can't imagine there's any complaints here. We touched on it a little bit earlier. You have the best center in football, in my opinion, after 1 year of play in Creed Humphrey. Orlando Brown Jr., Joe Thuney's been great. Trey Smith was a fantastic pickup. And as of right now, it's listed as Andrew Wiley being the starter, but I do think Kennard is going to end up taking over there. So how do you guys feel about this line? I'm sure you're pretty positive about it.
I love the line. I mean, or hopefully we can get Orlando Brown's contract situation sorted out. I would not pay him what they offered personally. I just don't think that, he's worth the market resetting value, because I think like he's really good, but he's not top 10, and you don't want to pay that guy top 1 money. It's not that I don't want him on the roster, just, the economics of the situation and just like valuing him at that point. And like Andy Reid said in this presser the other day, Joe Thuney can step in that spot if Brown is not going to be there. And I do expect Brown to be there. He's going to play on the tag this year, and hopefully they can sort it out next offseason. But as far as the current construction of the line goes, I'm pretty confident. I like it. Andrew Wiley is probably our biggest weakness, and I think that Kennard's going to take a spot. And so after that, I think that we have one of the better lines in the NFL.
Absolutely. Cameron?
Yeah, I'd say we have one of the better lines too. From left to right, you can tell they improved so well last year compared to the year before that in that Super Bowl that they suffered greatly against Tampa. But, Creed Humphrey got robbed. I just want to say that right now. Last year, he got robbed significantly. But I want to give him his respect. So, but I also love the Thuney signing. That I think that dude deserves every penny. That what he got. That dude is a tank. Even when he was with New England, and you knew what he is. He's an absolute unit. And I also think Kennard's going to take that right tackle spot. Lucas Niang might start, but he's known for having a lot of injuries. But I would say he's like a solid starter. I wouldn't say he's above average, but I think Kennard can fill in at right tackle. I think he'd fit in really well on the side of Trey Smith. So I feel like our offensive line's going to be good and protect 15 very well.
Yep. I agree 100%. Now, before we move on to the defense, there is one player we haven't talked about yet, and he's definitely my favorite player on this offense. And that is, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, fullback Michael Burton. What are your guys' thoughts on this absolute demon of a human?
Cameron, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I can take it away. After Sherman retired, I didn't think we'd find, a fullback compared to, what I'm saying? Kind of like a top tier fullback that gets the attention a little bit. But as soon as we signed Michael Burton, I knew I heard that name before when we signed him, before last year. Then I saw that he wasn't really getting the ball much beginning of the year, midseason, but one game against the Charge at LA, that's the whole first drive. We gave him the ball running and passing it to a guy, and that dude is a tank. That's safe to say. And you have him in on some run plays, and even on special teams, that guy's a dog too. But I feel like that guy deserves more attention than he does. I love him a lot. So
defenders just bounce off of him at especially in short yardage situation. It's unreal.
Yeah, Burton is definitely a man amongst boys out there. He In today's NFL, obviously, I'm the fullback guy. I love my fullbacks. So in today's NFL, we see a lot of fullbacks that are kind of trending towards being the Kyle Juszczyk mold, where they're super athletes, can do a little bit of everything. And Burton isn't quite that, but he's like the strong version of it. Kind of like you said, there's not a lot of fullbacks nowadays that get used a lot where guys just fall off of them. And Burton is just such a truck back there. Anytime you hand him the ball, you're guaranteed 3 to 4 yards. He's not afraid to do the dirty work. He's always going to set incredible blocks. He's going to be a demon on special teams, like Cameron said. I just love watching him. And part of it is because he did play for Chicago at one point. He was one of the fullbacks I loved when they played for the Bears. But like, he's just such a stud, and anyone that watches the Chiefs will tell you he's one of the best out there. Moving on from that, we've got this defense to talk about. The defensive line here featuring George Karlaftis, Derek, is it Noddy? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris Jones and Frank Clark. I feel pretty good about this front four, apart from Frank Clark, who we've kind of given his fair share of stuff, or fair share of crap early on. But the rest of this line, how do you guys feel about it?
The other day, it was pretty funny. I saw like Madden's like toughness rating or like the
Mhm.
dog in him rating, and like Derek Noddy was like at 5 for some reason. Like, I don't know how you measure that, but I'll take it, I guess. But I mean, as far as like you mentioned it, we pretty much probably think along the same lines. Frank Clark, clear weakness on that line. If he could get to like his Seattle days or like 2018, 2019 playoffs, that's great, but that's not realistic in my opinion. I mean, he's had so much time to get back there, but he's not going to be there. And so, I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully he could work off, because like last season he wasn't like getting double teamed a lot, and he also wasn't winning a lot, so he's just like a non-factor almost. But hopefully he can have a bounce back year. He looks a lot slimmer. He could probably be a bit quicker off the line, working off of Chris Jones's gravity. If George Karlaftis can do that and also draw multiple offensive linemen himself, and I think that that can open up a big year for Frank Clark. I don't expect it, but the opportunity is there for him to take. So yeah, I think that they're all right. There's 2 guys that I like a lot, one guy that I'm okay on, and then one guy that I don't see the vision with. And I think that, you kind of just have to live with those results. At least you got 2 guys that you could like legitimately say that you could depend on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Defensive line. We're going to find out what it's about this year. That's for sure. I think Derek Nottie is a very underrated D tackle. Again, doesn't get the attention that he deserves. Good run stopper. And I did see that Frank Clark got very lean this offseason. Maybe that'll help him, get the quarterback faster. And I also like Turkshaw Wharton. I know he's a backup, but he's very decent when he comes in, like on third downs or such. And obviously Chris Jones is Chris Jones. I mean, I think he's the top 3 defensive tackle in this league. They tried him out at defensive end last year. That really didn't, pan out well, but they moved him back in and he succeeded. But yeah, I have high hopes for the D line this year. I just hope we can get to the quarterback faster than we did this last year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm in the same boat as Pranav, obviously. You've got Chris Jones, who is top 2, top 3 defensive tackle in football. Fantastic pass rusher on top of that. George Karlaftis, I've already said I'm a big fan of. I expect big things out of him. And playing off the gravity of Chris Jones should help him out a lot. Having a guy like that to kind of, for lack of better words, bail out your rookie like that is massive. Derek Nottie, I like, even though I almost butchered his name when I said it. I am a fan of him. I do like what I've seen out of him. And then Frank Clark, you're just hoping for anything at this point. I wasn't aware that he slimmed down, so maybe that is something he'll be able to bring to the table. Maybe he can be a little bit quicker, but I would say you're 3 for 4 in your front four, and that's good enough at this point. But moving on from that, we've got these linebackers to talk about. And I'm going to be honest with you. You guys are going to have to sell me because I like Leo Chenal, but Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, I just feel like I haven't seen enough out of them yet.
I like Nick Bolton a lot. I do want to see more out of Willie Gay, but I do like Nick Bolton, the flashes he showed last year. He is a bit undersized, but I mean, he does jump out in the running game and he does cover really well. Like he doesn't have the breakaway athleticism to like make big plays on the defensive end, but he sticks with his guy really well. He's very smart on that end, so I think that that really helps him win. But I agree with Willie Gay. I do need to see a bit more. The potential's there. Like I see the vision because he's an athletic freak, but he just hasn't shown enough for me to be sold on him.
Yeah, Willie Gay has had his past with injuries. I feel like that's what's plagued him so far in his career. But obviously, when he plays, I feel like he's, I would argue that he's one of our most athletic defensive players on the team. Because that dude's fast and he can stop the run very well. Him and Bolton, I feel like are going to be very good run stoppers this year. Along with Chanel too, like you said, he's a blitzer. I just feel like we're going to blitz a lot this year, and I think our linebackers will do decent this year.
Yeah, Willie Gay, I will say, out of him and Bolton, is definitely the one I'm more concerned with. I agree completely that you need to see something more out of him. He's got the athletic traits; you can definitely see the vision with him, but I guess the best way to put it is the technical aspect of the game or the mental aspect of the game. He's just not fully there yet. And he's been in the league how long now?
3 years.
3 years. Okay.
He's entering year 3. He's entering year
Okay. So he's kind of in a position where if he doesn't put it together this year, you're kind of ready to move on from him. So this is very much a make or break year for him. And then with Bolton, maybe I need to go back and watch him a little bit more. Because when I was watching him, I saw a little bit of what you guys were saying, but it wasn't anything that jumped out to me. So maybe
the early season was not that great, but I think
Right.
like towards the end of the season was when he started to play.
Okay. Okay, then I'll have to go back and watch because clearly I'm missing out on something. Because I agree, I thought he was a nice run defender, but I thought he left a little bit to be desired against the pass, and I thought he could definitely improve against the run. So maybe I was just watching the wrong film. Maybe I need to be checking out different games.
You watched that Tennessee game?
Which game was it?
The Chiefs-Tennessee game last year.
Don't pay attention to the offense, by the way.
Yeah, don't the score. Don't pay attention to the score.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to go back and check that one because I can remember watching bits and pieces of it live. But
that was the worst game of Mahomes' career.
Yeah,
yeah,
it wasn't one I was super invested in when I was watching it. So I'll have to go back and actually sit down and check out the defense then because I must be missing something with Bolton. But then we get to the secondary, and I'm a big fan of what they got going on. Obviously, you're relying a decent bit on rookies. We've already talked about McDuffie and Brian Cook as someone I think, even as your third safety here, is probably going to see a good bit of snaps. And then Juan Thornhill's solid, and I like L'Jarius Sneed a lot. So how do you guys feel about it?
I like the secondary a lot. I like the overhaul that we had. We kind of compromised a bit on coverage for good tackling, but I'll take it. And I mean, outside of Tyrann Mathieu, I mean, we started Mike Hughes like last year. We started Daniel Sorens. Well, we didn't start him, but like we played him big minutes. And so, I mean, that it's going to be so refreshing to see McDuffie and Cook step in those places. And so I really like what we did in the second year. We talked about it earlier, but I mean, McDuffie, hopefully he could fill the role that Ward did. He's not as long as Ward, but I feel like he has more upside than him because of the athletic traits. And then we also drafted Josh Williams. So I mean, hopefully he could be like a decent corner.
He's the HBCU kid, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Sorry, go ahead.
I haven't watched a ton of him, but hopefully he could be like a decent starter for us. Like we found like late round gems in Sneed and like Fenton, so hopefully he could be that guy for us, like a similar role. So yeah, I'm excited about the secondary. That's probably the unit I'm most excited about regarding this defense because I just think that we have a lot of good players there.
Yeah, our secondary, it's safe to say it's very young, and I like love where it's going. I like what you said, like what they're doing there. I love it. I'll understand if McDuffie struggles, beginning of the year because he's a rookie and teams are going to try to pick on him on that side. But yeah, I think I like the direction they're heading. I think Thornhill is going to have a great year. It's his 4th year, and I think he's going to do really well because he's going to be one of the leaders now on that team. So I think he knows that he's going to have to step up a bit, and I feel like he'll do good back there with Reed or Cook.
Yeah. I agree completely. I think Pranav hit it on the head, by the way, talking about how this team kind of sacrificed coverage a little bit for run stopping, because they definitely did, but it was needed. It was definitely needed. Like, McDuffie's a fantastic run defender, super physical, super aggressive, plays very well up against the line of scrimmage. I was really impressed with how versatile he was in college, in the sense that he excelled playing in both man and zone and was able to move around a little bit. So I was a big McDuffie fan. I thought he was a fantastic pick. And his ball skills stood out as well. I think McDuffie, he's probably not going to be an immediate impact, just because it's that learning curve of going from college to the NFL, especially at that position. But I think by midseason, I think he should be fine. I think we'll get an idea of what McDuffie's going to be around midseason. I'm very excited to see him play. And then Williams, I'm with Pranav. I haven't watched a whole lot of him, but from what I understand, he's a pretty athletic guy. He's got that good length. He's like 6'2", long arms.
Pretty long. That's what I've heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his back pedal's really smooth. I do remember seeing that in the little bit I got to watch out of him. So he's a nice developmental piece. He's not going to be a guy that probably gets a lot of time this year, but long term, if they can get some of the technical stuff down with him, I think he can be a stud. He has all the makings, the athletic traits, so to speak, of a guy that's going to be really good. And then another guy you guys added in the secondary is one of my guys, Dion Bush, coming over from Chicago. And he's one of those guys that he's not going to get a ton of playing time, most likely, but his impact is felt when he's on the field. He's like a turnover machine. He's had like 2 or 3 very, very clutch picks for Chicago in his time there, and he's a very good tackler, very willing ball player. I think he's he's going to be like your fourth safety. He was a solid pickup there.
Yeah, I mean, we're young. It's a young defense, but I think that we are a lot improved from last year where we were.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Chiefs, they're going to be good this year, and they project very well going forward. There's not a whole lot of old talent on this team, unless you want to look at like Frank Clark. There's really...
And the thing is, Mahomes makes you a contender pretty much every year. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, like, when you have that guy and the rest of the AFC is selling their souls to win right now, it's good to kind of take a step back and as far as like the team building perspective and get younger, get cheaper. And so, like, long term, while those teams are going to suffer the consequences of like the cap hits and everything, you're going to like progress. And like the AFC, I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but the path is going to be like clearer for success.
Yeah. Your window's a lot larger than everyone around you.
Right.
Kind of the best way to put that.
AFC West, I feel like after this year, they're like, all right, we need to make some big changes because this just isn't working out. We can't beat KC. So what do the Chargers do? They go out and get more pass rush. They get Mac, and they get J.C. Jackson. And, what does Denver do? They go out and get Randy Gregory. They get Russell Wilson.
Corniest motherfucker in the league. I'm sorry.
And Raiders, they go out and get the best receiver in the league. And like they're like, all right, the only way to beat them is to outscore them.
They're not outscoring you.
That's the thing. Like, I don't think they are.
I'm not like a hater or anything, but I just don't buy that Raiders defensive backfield at all.
Oh no, Raiders. I think Raiders have the worst defense.
Rock Yassin, Trayvon Merrick. I just don't see the vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What cracked me up the other day was Devontae Adams made a comment. He said, "Well, going from Hall of Fame quarterback to Hall of Fame quarterback won't be such a hard transition." I'm like, you really think Derek Carr's a Hall of Fame quarterback?
Listen, let's not slander Derek Carr. We love Derek Carr on this podcast, okay?
Yeah.
Even though you guys might not because he's in your division. I do. I love Derek Carr, but he's not a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Top 10 for me.
Okay.
I do want to ask you guys, like, how do you feel about the Broncos receiving core? Because like,
I have no faith.
I exactly like.
Overrated.
I'm not expecting a Judy leap either.
No.
Overrated.
I have listen. I don't like to use the terms underrated and overrated because I feel like NFL fans have used them to the point where they've lost all meaning. But I do not see the Jerry Jeudy hype whatsoever.
Right.
No.
He's mid. Like I just don't see it. Like, yeah, he's a solid route runner, but what else?
Hands aren't there.
That's it.
Right.
Tracking is not there.
He has no hands, especially with Wilson. That's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And he also and like I think Sutton is the one set up for most success in that.
Yeah, because he's a deep
threat. But even then, he can't stay healthy at this point.
No.
He's really struggling.
Wilson likes throwing like outside the numbers, and Judy's a guy who likes to eat in the middle of the field. I just don't think like I get why people want to hype him up, but like I don't see it happening. No.
Yeah. I mean, I like Tim Patrick, but that's it. I really don't have any. And like their tight end Albert O, he's got the athletic traits, but what has he done to make
I
anybody
like
think he's
Fant
set up?
too, but they
Fant,
traded him for Russ.
Fant was good.
They traded him for
He's from,
Russ.
I
he's
like
from,
Fant.
And
I
I think they're gonna
he's from Missouri.
He is. Yeah. And then like they lost Shelby Harris defensively in that Russ trade too. And I mean their defensive statistics are not going to be as good as advertised as they were last year because Von Miller got traded halfway through the year. And I'm just not a big Bradley Chubb guy at all. Like after the injury, he's just hasn't been the same.
Yeah.
And Sertan's a dog. I can't even lie.
Absolutely.
That guy is him. Like that guy is fantastic. So is Justin Simmons. But I mean, outside of that secondary, I do have my questions about their pass rush because it used to be an elite unit, and now I don't even know what to make of it.
Yeah. The linebackers aren't very good either. They've got Alex Singleton and Josie Jewell right now. Like it's a rough defense. I don't have any faith in the receiving core. The run game's going to be fantastic, and I'm concerned with Russ, not in the sense that I think he's going to fall off, but I feel like this is probably the first year he's going to have to play in any sort of structure, and I don't know how he's going to be able to adapt to that. Like he's a great quarterback, but we all know Russ does his thing, let Russ cook or whatever. If he's not able to just kind of run around and do his thing, I don't know what he's going to be able to do. I don't know how he's going to adapt to that. So at least for the first year, I have my concerns with that as well.
And
but
a rookie head coach as well. And you lost him. You lost Fangio, who was like the main defensive play caller there. And so
one of the best defensive minds in football.
I think the defense is going to see, like, they still have good players, but I think they're going to see regression defensively. And then offensively, they're going to be better, obviously, but I don't know how much better I don't know how much Russ is going to elevate them in this division in order to win enough games to be a playoff team.
Yeah, Denver's the only team in this division I have finishing under 500. I do not have a lot of faith in Denver whatsoever. And then the Raiders, like, I don't know. Carr's just that he's got that dog in him. I don't know how to explain it. And their receiver core is nice. I like their running backs. I do agree with their secondary. It's bad. So I have them like right around 500. And then the Chiefs and the Chargers are like a game apart or whatever. But I guess that's a good segue to talk about how do you guys think the Chiefs are going to do record wise and what are your predictions for the season?
Cameron can start. Let me pull up the schedule.
Since there's another game, I forgot they had another game this season.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that our schedule is very tough. I feel like I know our first 4 games. It's at Arizona, Chargers at home, at Indy, and at Tampa. Like those are our first 4 games, and those are not very easy games to play. So I feel like record-wise, I feel like we'll go 13-4 or 12-5. Those are my realistic predictions for me.
I agree. I just went through the schedule. I think 13-4 or 12-5 is realistic. I think we're going to be like the wins I'm confident about are Arizona. I think we beat the Raiders twice actually. That might be like my thinking. Just like
I think we'll lose to the Chargers once.
I don't fear the Raiders internally, and I think that's bad analysis on my part, but I just don't for some reason.
I don't fear Denver. We haven't lost.
We've never lost to Denver in the Mahomes era, so no. I don't think that's going to change this year. I think we beat Denver twice. That's 4 wins there. I think we beat Arizona week 1. I think we beat San Francisco. We beat Tennessee. We beat the Rams. I'm not a big Rams guy this year. I think they regressed on both ends of the football.
We play them at home too. That's an advantage,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can beat the Bengals.
I hope so, dude. Can I say something about the Bengals?
Go for it.
And this is just not a salty Chiefs fan talking, okay?
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is not the reason why they went to the Super Bowl.
Oh, absolutely. I think anyone can agree on that.
Yeah, like I knew they were. I don't
know what to make of them this year. I think they do. I think they like finish the same or worse record wise, and then they don't like have a far playoff run. They're a good team, but like it took. I'm not going to say luck because they get on my head when I say that. But I mean, a lot of variance went their way. Let's say.
Oh
yeah.
Especially that first game. That first game.
The called touchdown.
Did not go our way.
The called touchdown that wasn't a touchdown.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not to
Yeah.
mention, Travarius Ward just couldn't guard Jamar Chase. I mean,
Yeah.
that was tough.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here. I've got them going 13-4. I believe is probably the best projection for them. I agree. I think they'll sweep the Broncos.
So
Um,
let's say, like, go ahead. My bad.
oh no, you're good. You're good.
So
I was just gonna say,
let's say they do go 13-4. Like, we all have them at least winning like 12-ish games. The narrative is in Mahomes' favor to win MVP if that's the case, is it not? Like,
it's gotta be,
a
unless
12
the defense does something
Especially
absolutely
with that receiver.
insane. Yeah,
a 12-win team. He lost Tyreek Hill. The narrative is, oh, this Chiefs team is going to fall off. And if they don't fall off, he leads an efficient offense with this receiving core. I don't see how he doesn't end up winning it, but that's just me speaking.
I agree with that 100%. I would, yeah, like I said, unless the defense does something ungodly, which with this much young talent, I don't see being the case. So even then, that's another thing you can add to it. He had a young defense on the other side of the ball, and he was just most likely outdueling people most of the season with mediocre running backs, mediocre receivers. His best weapon's a tight end, and yeah, in the hardest division, in the hardest conference in football, it's absolutely in his favor. Yeah, Mahomes MVP candidacy is at an all-time high, or Mahomes MVP odds, I guess, is how you would put it, is at an all-time high. I can see that. Well, unless there's anything else you guys wanted to bring.
The games I see us losing. I was just going to say that what games I think.
Go ahead. You're good.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like we lose to the Chargers at least once. They just got so much talent on that team. I respect them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll lose to Tampa Bay. They see that they got Julio Jones today. Not that makes a difference, but that's just another weapon for Brady.
Right.
I think we'll lose to the Bills in the regular season.
Like we always do.
And, yeah, a sleeper pick we might lose. I can see us losing to San Francisco.
Okay.
Honestly,
I was gonna say I need that Bengals win so bad.
Yeah, no. Me too. I can't lose to them. So I can't say
I'll disappear off the face of the earth.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But I mean, I have us splitting it against the Chargers. Do you guys think that Mahomes is undefeated on the road against the division? Do you think that record ends this year?
I think this would be the year to end it.
I think it does at SoFi. I think it does at SoFi. I think it does.
I would say it does. I hate to give Denver that win. The only reason I say Denver might win that game at Denver is because the NFL is trying to set up a primetime game for us to lose to them finally, in my opinion, because we haven't lost to them.
The script writers are going to go off in that one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we play the Raiders week 18. I mean,
so we might not even start Mahomes.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're free there, and it's Raiders week.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that being the case this year, that Mahomes streak ending. This would be the year to end it, if any year, given how good the Chargers got. Yeah. But, I mean, like we said, that's really I would say the only threat to you guys right now in the AFC West. I also have the Bill. Just a fun fact, throw it out there. I have the Chiefs winning the AFC as a whole. I still think they're the best team in the AFC. I would argue they might be the best team in football still. I call that a crazy take given all the turnover and whatnot, but I don't care. You've got Patrick Mahomes. You've got a solid defense on the other side of the ball. You've got Andy Reid running the show. It's hard to pick against them.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I think it's between the Chiefs, Bills, and Chargers. Please don't come at me, Bengals fans. But I do think it's between those three teams. Just because, like, those teams also added on the defensive side of the ball, like the Chiefs did. And then you have three quarterbacks who, to me, no one else can match talent-wise. And, like, I think those three guys are going to lead the three most efficient offenses in the AFC. And I think those offenses, combined with defensive improvements, are the teams to beat in the AFC.
Absolutely.
Before we end this, I need to know you guys' top 5 quarterbacks.
I got Mahomes at 1. I got Rodgers at 2. I got Allen at 3. I got Herbert at 4. And I got Brady at 5.
I've got Mahomes at 1, Rodgers at 2, Allen at 3, Brady at 4, and then Herbert at 5.
That's exactly mine. So
yeah, I think as long as you got those 5 names in there with Rodgers and Mahomes at 1 and 2, you're sold. You're solid.
yeah.
Like I don't think there's much, discrepancy there. Those last 3, so to speak, are kind of, I don't want to say interchangeable. I think Josh Allen's a step above them, but I guess I could entertain an argument for Herbert or Brady, I suppose.
Based on the regular season, they were better. So yeah.
Yeah, true. I don't know. It's tough to rank talent at that level, because there's so many things you got to take into account. Like, yeah, regular season performance, but then you got to look at the play. I guess you have to look at the playoffs, and you got to look at just the talent they have relative to the production and whatnot. Like, I'm very much a tape guy over advanced stats and counting numbers and whatnot, so it's a bit iffy. I just think Josh Allen's such a talented football player, but he's not Mahomes or Rodgers yet because of the inconsistency.
I mean, Herbert, like that guy, like I don't like praising division rivals. That's just like in my DNA, but I can't help but praise that guy. Like you just kind of have to give credit to talent where it is. And like that guy is one of the best red zone quarterbacks I've ever seen. Like how he fits the throws into tight windows in the red zone. Like it's absolutely insane. Like with 4 seconds left in that Raiders final game this season with Mike Williams in the end zone, he fits it in like by a hair, like between 2 defenders to get that in and tie the game up. That guy is incredible. I hate that he's in our division. Why didn't Miami just pick him? I don't know.
Listen, I know that feeling all too well as a Bears fan. With Rodgers dominating our division every single year, it's rough, but like you got to give those guys credit. Another thing with Herbert, I just want to point out, just because I love it so much, the way his throwing motion works, where it's like so slow and then he just whips it at the last possible second. Coolest thing I've ever seen. It shouldn't work, but it's beautiful. It's incredible. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, he has a pretty high release point in comparison to like Mahomes and Allen. Like he throws it like over his head, while those two throw it more towards the side. It's pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah, Herbert's just a fun dude to watch, and he's such a cool guy off the field. Like I don't want to sit here and gas up Herbert too much to you guys, but like the dude's
I don't mind it.
He's like a scientist.
Yeah.
He's like an actual genius off the field. He's awesome. I love Herbert. And then he's got like the surfer dude persona on top of being super smart. It's awesome. And then you've got Mahomes, who puts ketchup on his steak.
Yep.
It sounds like Kermit the Frog. Yeah. But unless there's anything that you guys want to add, any players we didn't go over, anything like that, I think we're good.
I think we pretty much covered it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, real quick, just because we're at the end of the video, I'll give you guys your opportunities to plug your things again, starting with Pranav this time.
Yeah, so make sure to go follow me on Twitter at Pranav Sriraman, and from there you could see the link tree in my bio, and pretty much you can find anything there. My TikTok is at Nov Sports. I make breakdowns there. Then my Instagram, that I'm not as frequently on as anymore because the other 2 have taken over, is at Sportswell Debate. So if you want to go check that out, I guess you could do that. But if you want to engage with me, I'm going to be more frequently on the other 2. Make sure to go follow my Twitter, and then from there you'll find everything else. But yeah, that's my plug.
Yeah, for me, go follow at ChiefsWire on Twitter. Even if you're not a Chiefs fan, I'd appreciate the follow. I'm mainly known as tweeting during the games, and people like my reactions to some plays, calls, or flags or whatever. So I'd appreciate the follow, and thanks for having me, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I'll make sure to put your links in the description because Lord knows people are lazy and they're not going to actually go out of their way to search stuff. But the links will be in the description if you want to follow either of these guys. I would definitely recommend it. They're both wonderful people. And once again, thank you guys so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. And to everyone out there, Cameron just left. Okay, everyone left. I'm by myself. Cool. To everyone out there, make sure you let us know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with the things we said. If you didn't like our take on a specific player, yell at us for it in the comments. If you liked our take on a specific player, add on to it. Do whatever. Just make sure you leave a comment down below. Let us know how you think the Chiefs are going to do this offseason, or whatever it is you want to do down there. And make sure you leave a like as well. It's been a ton of fun and a ton of work putting all this together. So to know that I have your support would be absolutely incredible. I am tripping over my words like crazy right now, and I'm not even looking in the camera, but it's fine. But yeah, to everyone out there watching, I hope you have a wonderful day, night, evening, afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you thoroughly enjoy it because you're all wonderful people.